I'm excited to introduce you to Uncle Sam and You. It's our civics curriculum for students in grades 5, 6, 7, and 8. One of my favorite comments that we get from mamas about Uncle Sam and You is that their son comes to them all the time saying, "Mom, did you know?" That's exactly what we were hoping for in the lessons we chose for Uncle Sam and You. When we were writing it, a couple of friends and I were discussing what we were writing at the time. One of them said, "That sounds so boring," and the other one said, "I hated civics in high school." We took that challenge and created a fascinating study of civics for students in those grades. Uncle Sam and You teaches students about the things you would expect a civics to teach your student. It tells them all about our symbols, about the 3 levels of government, the 3 branches of government, and those important concepts that every American citizen needs to know. But it doesn't stop there. Civics is what happens in New York City on St. Patrick's Day, and it's what happens in Ohio on National Aviation Day. Civics is what people do to help other people. And that's what we have told about in Uncle Sam and You. Like all Knotgrass curriculum, beginning in grade 5 and going through grade 12, it has 2 books, one with 75 lessons for the first semester and one with 75 lessons for the second semester. It also has a book of primary sources, and it has 8 titles of literature for the students to read to help their understanding of civics. The curriculum also has review material. We have the student workbook, which has a worksheet for lessons, and we have the lesson review, which has questions for the students to answer. I tell moms to pick whichever one they think their student would enjoy the most. We have an answer key that covers the answers to both of those. And all of our high school and our 5th through 8th grade curriculum can be completed completely by the student with very little direction from a parent. Just depends on how you do your homeschool. Some moms like to be totally involved every day, read the lessons aloud. Other times they will decide that the best thing for this student this year is just to be started by the parent, and then the student take responsibility and do the lessons all by themselves. So it can be done either way. I'd like to show you a unit in Uncle Sam so that you can understand how it works. I have chosen as our sample Hometown Security. The first lesson is called Call 911. Calling 911 is often the first step in getting help when you're in trouble. And we explain to the students why we call 911. Did you know that idea came from World War II? Because in England, the government there had 3 numbers for people to call really fast when they had an emergency. So American soldiers brought that idea back from England, and we ended up with the numbers 911. So you learn what happens when you call 911. What does the dispatcher do? And of course, we tell students, don't ever call 911 unless you really have an emergency. At the end of the lessons, we always end with a Bible verse, and then we give a list of possible activities that you can complete. So today, there's a vocabulary assignment, a creative writing assignment. This time, the creative writing assignment is to write a 1-page story about a 911 call. This lesson has an idea of taking photographs or drawing pictures of all the phones that your family has, because that's the first step, of course, to calling 911. And then we remind you, if you're using the student workbook or the lesson review, to complete the page for today. The next lesson in this unit is called Fighting Fires, Saving Lives. This lesson is about what an EMT does, what a paramedic does, what an ambulance is like, and how medical first responders work indoors and outdoors in all kinds of weather to help the people in their community. We have sections on the big red fire engine, on firefighters, on how firefighters train. We talk about the uniform. We talk about fighting wildfires, which is something that is in the news so much of the time. And then we give you a tour of a local fire department. It happens to be in my hometown. Today, at the end of the lesson, we have ideas for a Bible study. The students learn about the Good Samaritan, who was an early first responder. And for literature, the students are going to go to the Citizens Handbook and read a presidential proclamation about Fire Prevention Week. Again, there's a creative writing assignment. We suggest that the student take a photograph or draw a picture of an ambulance or a fire truck. The next day, we learn about friends and protectors. These are law enforcement officers we talk about. Local law enforcement officers and what they do to help people drive safely. We talk about law enforcement tools that they use, and about the FBI and federal marshals and the very specialized group, the Texas Rangers. So we learn about people who protect us. Again, there's the Bible study idea, vocabulary idea. And in the Citizens Handbook, we have a story called A Marine's Grade School Dream is Realized. And we suggest that you find out how many people are part of your local law enforcement department. The next day, we learn about how weather is predicted. That is something we all are interested in. Many adults check every day to see what the weather forecast is. But how does that happen? And that's a theme in Uncle Sam and You. What's the story behind what you see every day? How did that stop sign get put up? What does that ambulance driver do? What is his job like? What does a weather forecaster do every day? And so we learn about predicting the weather. We learn a history of the National Weather Service. We learn about global weather, about hurricane predictions, and all through Uncle Sam and You, we tell stories about everyday people and the roles they play serving other people. There are many weather volunteers across the United States. They can gather information in their home, outside their home, on their farm, or wherever they are. They help the National Weather Service predict the weather for all of us. We tell a story about a woman who had served in the National Weather Service for decades, even till she was 85 years old. At the end of this lesson, there's a Bible study, a vocabulary idea, a piece to read in the Citizens Handbook, creative writing, etc. At the end of the first 4 lessons in every unit of Uncle Sam and You, every 5th lesson is the holiday that is closest to you on the calendar. So in the back of Part 1 and the back of Part 2, they each have 15 lessons about a specific holiday. So this one is St. Patrick's Day. So the student learns about St. Patrick's Day parades. They learn about the Chicago River being dyed green every year on St. Patrick's Day. They learn what happens at the White House on St. Patrick's Day. We share St. Patrick's Day message that President Bush provided when he was president, and we even learn ways that St. Patrick's Day has been celebrated in the military. So there's so many things that go on in our country that we may have no idea about. But after a student does Uncle Sam and You, they find out what Americans do together, what we do together to have fun, what we do together to help each other. And it's a wonderful year experience learning about Uncle Sam and You.